The Disability Discrimination Commissioner, Graeme, will finish up in the job at the end of the week. His position was cut in the federal budget, a move criticised by the opposition.
This Abbott government has made the wrong choice when it has withdrawn funding from a passionate and strong voice for people with disability.
It is absolutely shameful that the Abbott government is not replacing the Disability Discrimination Commissioner, and we will continue to campaign to make sure that this position is appropriately filled.
So who will champion the cause of people with disabilities now? Graeme is in our Canberra studio. And Graeme, I'm interested in what you're thinking in your last week on the job, whether or not the Human Rights Commission will pick up the slack.
Well, the Human Rights Commission can only play the hand that it's dealt, and over the years, in the last few years, the Human Rights Commission has been dealt a weaker and weaker hand, and the downgrading of the Disability Discrimination Commissioner's position is just another example of that, the weaker hand that the Commission has been dealt. But I'm sure they'll do their very best with the hand that they've got.
Now, do you take any responsibility at all for your position finishing there after Bernie Brooks made those comments? You were charged with really going over the top in your response.
I was, and unfortunately my side of that story didn't really get on the record because the Australian ran about 4 or 5 stories and didn't once talk to me about it.
OK, so what is your side of the story there?
Well,
what campaign did you run?
My side of the story is that when I heard Bernie Brooks' comments, I was shocked and disappointed by them, but I was more shocked by the Clayton's apology that he made, and so I called his office to say, look, if you want to really apologise to people with disability, why don't you commit to employing people with disability in your workforce? And he didn't take my call, and that's when I took the action that I did, making the call to him that I've made to 30 or 40 other major employers during my time as Commissioner to work towards moving people with disabilities off welfare and into jobs, because that's what we need to do.
In your position, you're not allowed to, the policy is that you're not allowed to single out individual businesses. Did you go too far in your campaign there?
Well, I'm not sure where that policy is, Paul, but I talk about single businesses all the time, both positively and negatively. I've certainly singled out Jetstar for their wheelchair apartheid, but I've also congratulated Westpac on the number of people that, with disabilities they employ, up to 13%, as well as ANZ. I've congratulated Telstra on turning around a problem when they initially refused to provide people with teletypewriters, deaf people with teletypewriters, and then turned that around. So, you know, I've given out bouquets and also some brickbats.
OK, and so when you leave the job at the end of the week, what's your greatest concern for people with disabilities? Well,
my greatest concern is that whilst we have a welfare plan to make welfare tougher for people with disabilities, we don't have a jobs plan. And that's how we'll solve the problem of people with disabilities, moving people off welfare and into jobs.
And we just got some news through that Greg Hunt, the Minister for the Environment, is going to announce today, not part of the Human Rights Commission, of course, but separate to that, he's announced that there's going to be a Threatened Species Commissioner. In your position, leaving your job, that might have some irony about it.
There is a degree of irony. I mean, look, I'm pleased that our threatened species are being dealt with in that way, and that's certainly support needed. But people with disabilities might be put in that same category. I mean, 45% of us live in poverty. We're employed at a rate 30% less than the general population. We complete year 12 at 25% when the general rate is 50%. We are a significantly disadvantaged group, and we lodge 37% of the discrimination complaints, more than twice the next category, yet we won't have a full-time commissioner with lived experience of disability.
Do you think this government's got something against people with disabilities?
Oh, no, I don't think the government has. The government's been clear on its position with the National Disability Insurance Scheme, but I think the decision of the Attorney-General to downgrade the position is a very disappointing one.
And what now for you? How are you going to champion the cause?
Oh, I'm sure I'll be championing the cause from a different platform. I'm building a portfolio of boards and etc. But I'm too passionate and too committed to this cause to walk away from it, so my voice will still be there.
Graeme, good luck and thanks for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul. Happy to talk with you.